I thought we're on page 43, right?
45.
46.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
46, 4.3, 4.4. Recreational.
Yeah, we'll call the meeting to order and need a have a mover and I'll leave Poisey. Moved by member Paquette, seconded by member Poisey, planning advisory committee meeting be opened at 6:31 p.m. All in favor? It's carried. Adoption of the minutes and a mover and a seconder. We adopt the moved by member Roblinski. And seconded by member Paquette that the minutes of the planning advisory committee meeting held. Gosh, November 27th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. Any comments, questions? All in favor? It's carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Do I even have to call for that in this meeting? I said I will.
You should, yeah.
Seeing none. We can get into the one point of business today, which is to continue the review. So we left off at 4.4.
4.3, 4.4.
4.3.
Page 46.
Yeah, this is that one that the agriculture area for 3. I read it pretty quick and we ended the meeting without really
Exploring it, sure.
Yeah.
Agriculture related commercial and industrial use policy, is that the name?
4.3.
4.3. Oh, you want to go right back to 4.3?
Oh, doesn't matter.
That's fine. It's 4.3 agricultural area. So number 1, the agriculture area land designation is shown on Schedule A. It is the intent of this designation to protect agricultural lands to ensure the viability of long-term basis, protecting them for incompatible uses and preventing their fragmentation. Lands designated agriculture area are those lands where prime agricultural lands predominant, which includes Canada Land Inventory, CLI classes 1, 2, and 3, soils in order of protection, and associated class 4 through 7, and the organic soils. This is straight to the map, right? Like this is all we're talking about is what we see on the map, and that's just designated to us, really.
Yeah. Based on the soil, so that was on the very first Monday when we met and we talked about climate control. It's just those sections, which we have not done our road trip to see what the land actually is being used for yet.
Yeah.
Ask a question, comment. So this was already talked about, the fact that it's so generic and it doesn't really reflect it. So I just want to understand. So JL Richards, are they gonna propose a let's say option 2 or something like that, or are they gonna revisit it, or is this
My plan is to have a further conversation with them and trying to understand why, when 3/4 of a square is not designated as prime agricultural land, why you're actually taking it out of commission for everything else.
So they basically took these 2 maps from the Canada Land Inventory, soils 1, 2, and 3, mapped it into Bonneville where that soil is designated, and that's where they've put it along with the impact codes for farmland. So that is their interpretation of what should be prime agricultural. So it will be up to us to justify why something should be removed.
So that's the only criteria is the soils right now?
Yeah, the soils in here.
That's to the MAFRA,
Yeah.
like to the province, we have to prove that.
We're not proving this to JL Richards. We have to prove to the province why these are not prime A
And
properties.
what criteria would we be going by, not proving?
Say we go buy a property and it's all tree and it's not being used for farmland, we could say, well, this isn't being currently used for farmland, so why would we designate it as such? Or the property isn't large enough to be designated, or we would have to go through every property to say why we believe it should not be designated.
And we do that after we approve this
No, before,
before.
before.
Okay.
So in January, when
Makes
we have
sense.
the meeting with J.O. Richards, we will have to go through that. So by the time we'll have that meeting, we have to have justifications.
Any other questions on that? The following permitted uses shall be permitted in the agriculture area designation, so agriculture uses such as growing of crops, including nursery, biomass, and horticultural crops. We're not gonna read every sentence on that, here we can just pause if you need. Agricultural related uses, including farm related commercial and industrial uses that are directly related to farm operations. And limited farm diversified uses, including those that are secondary to a principal agriculture use of the property and are limited in area. On-farm diversified uses include but are not limited to home occupations, home industries, agritourism uses, and uses that produce value-added agricultural products. D, agricultural related residential uses, including single detached dwellings and additional residential units in accordance with section 315(1). E, wayside pits and portable asphalt plants in accordance with the zoning bylaw. F, forestry, public conservation, public open space, and passive recreation. And all new lands used in agriculture area designation shall comply with the provincial minimum distance separation formula as amended from time to time. And before I move on. 431, agricultural related commercial and industrial use policies. The plan anticipates the establishment of agricultural related uses. Council shall consider zoning bylaw amendments to establish such uses, provided the proposed on-farm diversified use is comparable with surrounding agriculture uses and does not hinder the agriculture uses. B, provides suitable buffering between adjacent residential uses, and C, would not create adverse impacts to natural features or water courses. D, does not require large volumes of water to generate large amounts of effluent. E, has a maximum area of 2% of the lot area of the subject property to a maximum of 1 hectare. The maximum area of 2% of the lot area, the subject property up to a maximum of 1 hectare. Yeah, sorry, I just have to process that. Directly related to secondary primary agriculture use. 432, on-farm diversified uses. Following on-farm diversified uses shall be permitted. Farm with any agriculture use, so farm vacations, bed and breakfast, occasional agricultural demonstrations. 2 other on-farm diversified uses may be permitted subject to zoning bylaw amendment subject to the following criteria. A, on-farm diversified use is compatible with and will not hinder surrounding agricultural operations. B, on-farm diversified use is limited to an area to a maximum of 2% of the property area up to 1 hectare. C, lot area and coverage of the farm on-farm diversified uses shall be in accordance with the province's guidelines. 433, consent policies. Consents may be permitted subject to the following provisions. The severed lots shall be for agriculture or residential use. The original township lot shall not be divided into more than 2 parcels, including the retained lot. Can we pause there for a minute? Are we sure that we still want to have that to be so restrictive of like you can only be twice?
These are prime A properties, so it's different than the rule. So the rule allows 3+1. The prime egg will just be 2 period. So I have a bunch of notes in here that's kind of related to all the rest of them as well. So for me in B, I don't know, can I just jump to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I agree, like, I know they want to protect prime agricultural land, so how do we do that? But balance and responsibility. So the original town law, I have a question to define that. Is it as it exists at the date of passing of this bylaw, which I think we need to define, or is it the original township law from? We need to make sure that we want it to be as defined by when this gets passed. And then there's in C, I think it says 1 hectare, and D is 40 acres. But there's another section further back in the rule that says that new farm lots shall have a minimum lot size of approximately 20 hectares instead of 40. So, and then there's the frontage of 100 meters as opposed to 60 meters. And again, it's because it's protecting prime A. And then there's different sizes. So if we reduced, and this is a question for JL Richards, but it's just a way of justifying, so we can brainstorm other ways of doing it. But if we reduce the size, that we could increase the number from 2. So if we decrease from 40 to 20, can we have more than 2 severances on a prime agricultural property? We're still protecting it. We're allowing smaller cash crop or smaller farms. And I'm not sure that the ministry would permit that, but we have to ask, we have to start somewhere. But then I'm not sure what we would get out of the maximum, so.
I mean, especially because modern technology, the yields are way higher than they ever used to be, right? So where you needed 40 acres or 40 hectares before, you can probably get the same amount of crop with 20 now, right? So.
I don't know if there are other justifications that we can use, so that'll be up for JL Richards to help us with.
If you reduce the size, you reduce the capability of making a living on it too.
Well, that's the thing, right? So it's gonna
That's the
have to
thing.
be yields.
That's potential, yep.
For sure.
Mhm.
I agree with you. I think it's way over restrictive, especially if it is, you know, to the original, then basically some of these lots can't even get severed anymore. That's one. And two, you mentioned that what, you know, if the ministry would allow it, like, help me understand, the ministry says guidelines. This is not, so this is law, the ministry law, and you're supposed to implement the law.
Yes, we have to be consistent with the provincial policy statement. So they said it through the Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, the Golden Horseshoe, the Northern Growth Plan. So the province has a number of different plans that we all have as municipalities. We have to be consistent with it, the language. So we can't do something that contravenes one of those other acts. This would be one. Prime agriculture is a big ticket item for them.
Like in C, it says that we have to follow the province's guidelines for permitted uses in Ontario's prime agricultural area. So it takes the.
And when the province goes through our draft official plan, they look for all those inconsistencies. But we have met with them once, I mean, prior to me being on board, but they did do the one, when you first said that you're doing an official plan, there's a 1 window meeting with all of the provincial ministries, typically with your consultant and the planner, and then they go through a number of the issues, which is why we had to do the prime agriculture study in the first place. Because Omafra we had the soils, but we didn't identify anything in our previous official plans. So we will have to designate something, but we have to justify why we're not going to designate it all.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost tempted to just be pretty blunt and say, at some point, the government has to realize that if a Canadian owns land, then government should leave it alone, because so it's trickled down. We're gonna designate this entire region as agricultural, and we're gonna restrict a guy that's owned the farm for 100 years from passing it down to his 2 sons because he can't sever it anymore. And so now he's gonna be what? You know, like at some point it's, you know, yeah, I could see both sides. I mean, I'm in that kind of field where I could kind of critically analyze the things, but that's kind of like overstretch, you know, like it's especially in agricultural.
Yeah. We're working with one family right now who would actually be within that farm agriculture. They have a 200-acre family farm, and they want to sever for each of their children, but our policies don't allow it from a consent perspective, so they have to go through subdivision to have more than the required number of lots.
But that wouldn't apply once this is passed, because
It'll be prime.
Yeah.
I agree, with the issue not being able to. You're kind of stopping maybe the farming from carrying on, especially with the family or the people that live in this area. if they're not able to sever it. And pass the property on, I think at this time it's, we have less land in this township now than in 1997, when they designated that there was no prime farmland here. And I'm going back to my paperwork to try and find the letter that the province stated that. And I don't know if it'll do any good at this time, probably not. Because I think they pretty much made up their mind that this is what we have to do. But it's also, we want to see our municipality grow. We want to see growth here. And if we be so restrictive, we're not going to see that. And that's, we also need that. We need the tax base. We need the taxes here. We need to be able to, and we've been severing lots ourselves. And like I said, I named a few, Bishop Road, McNutt Road. And then that highway, I don't know when that highway is going through, but the highway is going through, and there's property out there on Northern Glen Line that you can't build a home on it now. So what's going to happen if we become so restrictive and we can't? This is our official plan, and how long is this supposed to last us for? 10 years or something?
Yeah.
Are we going to be? I think we should not be afraid to say it, because this is going to stay with us, and we have to follow this. So let's make sure that we're all comfortable with the decision with respect to this prime agricultural land.
Mhm. And sorry, just another comment about the consent policies within the prime, right? So like, again, I know the map is gonna be looked at once more, but there's gonna be much of the map that is wooded lots, right? So then, now you have a wooded lot, but it's within prime farm. So if someone wants to sever it and it says new farm lots, I know it doesn't say wooded lot, but I mean, is a wooded lot within prime agricultural going to become a new farm lot if you sever it? And if you do, does it have to be restricted to minimum 40 hectares and minimum 100 meters frontage, even though it's not a farm lot, right? But it lies within the zone that is prime agricultural. So then it's like, at some point, there's a pen saying, no, you're within the zone, but the guy's like, it's a wooded lot. So
But it can
that's
still be prime agricultural land if it's wooded.
well, I know
You
that.
remove the trees and it's good soil.
Yeah, but
It used to be. Yeah.
but who's gonna do it? The guy who's gonna buy it, right? Like you can't restrict it and saying, well, you can get this lot severed, but you have to maintain this size because we need this much farmland. He goes, well, did you look at the lot? There's all trees. So now you're basically forcing whoever buys it to convert it to a farm lot.
Or keeping a large parcel of land at 40 hectares.
Right.
Before we finish this, and out where the farmland is, that it's designated farmland, I think that we should go out. I think the planning board should go out and look at these, and then maybe we'd be more satisfied as well. Or less satisfied.
I think you'll find that if you travel what is being designated, that it is currently farm. Very much so.
Well, not based on that map when there was things that should have been left out and things that are left out that should have been left in, right? You're talking about that pink, whatever, the first day we met, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like down development,
Oh,
Trump
whatever
Road,
it was, yeah.
that's giant fields.
Yeah, there's farms on Trout and development. And the other side areas too, farms in there, so.
Well, it used to be all farms way back. So.
Yeah, it'll be all farmland.
Ironically, the farmers that removed the trees and kept the fertilizing, et cetera, is probably the reason why the soils are what they are.
Maybe it comes better.
Yeah.
Before.
Anything else on consent policies?
Where you going to get some?
Yeah, well, that we were in
45?
45, yeah, so we were just chatting about the consent, like the
Okay.
meat and potatoes of the consent policy, so I don't know if anybody else has anything extra on that. Seeing none, moving on. Recreational area. The recreational area is outlined in Schedule A. It is intended to be developed as a residential recreational area in which the following uses shall be permitted on private surfaces: seasonal dwellings, commercial and tourism recreation, open space use under the jurisdiction of public agency, a single detached dwelling in accordance with section 4.4.5, policy 3. Number 2, overnight accommodation is not permitted within recreational area, except with a single detached dwelling, seasonal dwelling, or an additional residential unit in accordance with 3.15.1 of this plan. This whole thing contradicts in my head for some reason. Like it says we can't do it, and then except for, and here's the list of things we can do, which is you can't stay overnight except in a single family dwelling. Okay.
Okay, so then you can't stay overnight in a tent.
Or a hunting camp.
Or hunting.
Who's gonna go
You
there?
can only stay overnight if you have a building that's on septic and private services.
All right, fair enough. Short-term rental accommodations may be permitted on municipal roads maintained year-round and are subject to section 3.15.2 of this plan. It is the intent of the township to make use of opportunities to acquire land for recreational water-based and land-based uses, including the expansion of recreational trails and linkages. Development in the recreational area shall be in accordance with the requirements of section 517. 517.
Just on that note, like 3, when it says short-term rental accommodations may be permitted on municipal roads maintained year-round, didn't it just already say once that it was permitted on year-round maintained roads?
I think that's specifying municipal, yes, and I did have I mean, about that one.
Yeah,
Is it says something to me.
yeah.
And I did have a conversation with them about short-term rentals on private roads. And at the public meetings and the open houses, that's where the discussion came in between private roads and maintained roads, because there were those on private roads, property owners on private roads who have their neighbor who are bringing more traffic in, but they all pay the same to maintain the road. But then there's someone actually earning money, but they maintain the road. So, and I think that might be why there's conflicting things, because at one point it was during or before the public meeting when they drafted, and then after the public meeting.
But if a permitted use is commercial,
Mhm.
they'll be traveling the private roads in a commercial
In the
fashion.
recreation,
Right.
and I think that's why it's only unmaintained,
Okay.
right? Because it says.
That
No, it actually doesn't.
need their own room,
Yeah,
not a shared room,
Right.
is that it?
yeah, you're right, it doesn't say it, so
Mhm.
as long as it's not short-term rental, you can run a
Mhm.
ski chalet on a private road.
Right.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Wonder why the.
I mean, yeah.
Um. Okay, here we're back to where we left off. Do you have more on that? Okay. Back to where I think we left off.
May I speak?
Oh,
Hello?
please, sorry. Yeah,
I have my
hi.
hand up.
I'm sorry, yeah, just jump in. Sorry, I'm terrible at looking at the TV.
So did we decide that you are adding or a maintained private road into that section?
I don't know that we decided
Under
one way.
the section where it stated may be permitted.
It's number 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all
we did,
we said under another section that it that short-term rentals were allowed under a maintained municipal or private road in the official plan. It's under section 3.
I just made a note to
short-term
ask
rentals
Dale
were
Richards
allowed.
about it.
Well, I think there'd be quite a stance if because all recreational land is mostly on private roads on town. Shields Point Road stops, so it's all private roads, and even down Pine Lake Road.
and there's recreational properties there?
That's where it's zoned.
It's owned recreational?
It's all zoned recreational.
Hmm.
Yeah, it always has been.
There either. It's the same sentence, that's 315.2.
Same sentence.
Well, the last sentence is saying that basically that, maybe between municipal maintained year-round roads. Again, municipal or year-round maintained road, so year-round maintained roads could be a private road, it doesn't say
Yeah.
municipal, so I think we're okay in that department.
Municipal or year-round maintained roads.
Right, a contract.
Yeah, so that we're basically
Yeah.
missing and or,
Yeah, just the or,
really, yeah,
municipal
there we go.
So
or.
to me, it should also then be in that sentence under 4344. And then why was recreation permanent residents taken out?
I didn't know that they were ever actually permitted.
Oh, really?
Like why, do you know where it says existing residential and it only talks seasonal? Well, quite a few of the homes are permanent.
There's a single detached well.
It's a cottage.
Right.
I think we need to ask Dale Richards this.
Yeah.
To go from our current OP to our new OP. So typically year-round development was never permitted on. Unless it was a year-round municipally maintained road. I think we spoke about before, there were 4 years and the municipal act changed, but then the municipal act changed back, and I think that was in the 90s. That development on, so people, homeowners had cottages on the lake, but those cottages were just seasonal dwellings, but they've converted into permanent homes now. So I think we need to go back to our old official plan to answer that question 100%. And get J.O. Richards to talk about that.
What are
Because
the properties
you have
back in
permanent
Pine Lake, though? What are they zoned?
Recreational.
Or residential limited services. That's our current.
Used to be,
Let me see if I can find our current OP.
Oh, yeah, all residential
services.
Okay.
there's been permanent homes back there for well over 40 years.
Absolutely.
And then just the other one on that one.
It was-
It was trying to look.
Like that's why we're the 34s, 35.
You can see up in the middle of the top screen, there's a plus and a minus, you can zoom into the
Yeah.
map that way.
And this isn't a
So that's
great
Shields Point.
scan. Yeah, I'm just going to look for Hamlet, rural. Provincial.
Rural recreational, the third one down.
That's what they are, what it is
Yeah,
now,
can't
rural
see.
recreational.
Yeah.
Used to be seasonal something a long, long time ago.
So at the tip of, which is 34, 35. That's all recreational.
Oh, here.
Yeah, that's the end of Shields Point Road.
Can I see if I can find? Yeah.
Oh, what zoning is that?
That's good, that's the,
Now that's rather good.
there's the,
Like your farms.
40 years?
yeah.
Prime agricultural land in 40 years from now.
We're all paying $25.
Yeah.
It's Hong Kong, isn't it? No. Let's see.
I think it's up
I did, it's not,
right there. Your own point.
it's not gonna give me the uses though.
But LED lights and double, so you're probably. Yeah. Great colors. It's your password.
Yeah.
No.
Is that a Monday? Is that why? Is that why? Every Monday till we're done, people. Christmas Eve.
Boxing Day.
One more week.
Spend Boxing Day.
So it is residential area in the official plan. Purple,
Purple recreational.
recreational area.
Yeah.
And then the green is the park. This
What's on Nosbin, same thing?
makes it a bit longer when I have all the things on. So there's a lot of
So is,
land and recreational area.
yeah,
I just want to see if I can, no, I can't reach it. I had to put Bonfil Township in,
Can I get to our website?
yeah.
Scared Bonfield later, I'm not gonna Google soon.
so I think that's why it was in the last official plan. And for some reason, they took it out of this one.
Well, what was crossed out was the um, existing permanent residential development.
Yeah, that was in the original official plan.
Just the seasonal or
Or the
permanent?
last one. Permanent, the one that's crossed out, it was in there. Under page 28 of the 2013 official plan.
Yeah, 40. Yeah, I don't know.
28, right there,
Recreational area here. Existing
Yeah,
permanent
number
residential development.
28.
So it couldn't be anything
Yeah.
new, it was just what was there the day of the passing.
So basically, if somebody lived in a seasonal in 2013, shouldn't be living there full time today.
And
Well,
yeah,
unfortunately, you have houses all over. I don't think Paul Preston would be too, you just gave him a permit not long ago and it's a permanent home.
Transition from a cottage to a permanent home?
Yep,
Whoops.
and there's lots. And he's not the only one, so. I think it should probably just say permanent residential development.
so that goes back to the ministry rules. I'm not sure that they would approve that.
Huh.
So we can note
What's the
it,
difference between that and a residential?
we can note it, but
Sure.
like,
You better understand.
Or just leave it in and see what they say.
Yeah.
Well, it's because there was always supposed to be permanent residency on a municipally maintained road.
unless there's one subdivision. And it, in somewhere in our zoning bylaw, it does say that you can have a permit for a home on a private road, as long as you have deeded access on, like, yeah, right, and it's in the subdivision agreement, that there is deeded access and right of way.
I doubt that's where Dr. Preston lives.
Mhm.
So.
Well,
This
we
is not
did
a
rent
problem
on it.
unique to Bonfield, like
No, no.
everywhere people move into cottages.
Interesting to see down Pine Lake Road,
So
that
what's
all
the-
the cottages could be transitioned into full homes.
I think these are questions for JL.
Okay. Well, that's a problem.
There's no way to stop that
To stop people from,
from converting to permanent homes, cottages to permanent homes.
Not if we've issued permits.
even before that, though, there was, so typically, years ago, before title insurance. If you bought a home, you would ask, your lawyer would ask someone at the municipal office for the building and the zoning letter. And in the zoning letter, you would say it was recreational area, and these are the permitted uses, and it would not list that it would not list permanent home. It would list seasonal dwelling, but then it's just go out door to door and police it every day.
And I don't think, like, back in that area, in the Pine Lake area at one time, it was, I'm trying to think if it was seasonal with limited services. They were not zoned a permanent, they weren't for permanent homes. And at that time, because it was seasonal and people were going in there with their boats, or they were going in, then it came so they could go in with their snow machines. So they're in those homes all year round.
All the 4 seasons.
Yeah,
So there
and
you
so
go.
then they all of a
Seasonal.
sudden were not seasonal, and that's why I guess the zoning has been changed. Because they're no longer seasonal, they're permanent homes back there, and some very beautiful homes. So. And there, a lot of those homes are on that private maintained road that goes beyond Shields Point Road, so.
Is seasonal defined by like the amount of nights that you stay there in a year? Like how is seasonal defined?
It's not defined yet.
So they're just 4 seasonal homes.
Yeah.
Four seasonal homes. Because
Oh.
Well, you have access to 4 seasons there.
they're 20.
Olden days.
Yeah, well.
There's as many people use this area in the winter as they do in the summer.
And then I think too, legal access kind of changed with the Roads Access Act. Where, that happened with a lot of cottagers that didn't have legal access, and then the Road Access Act came out.
Yeah, so people
Oh.
could.
Yeah, so it's pretty
people
hard
could
to stop.
Road on a road allowance, for sure.
Well, even like some roads that have been going through. I know we lived on Trout Lake, and we used to like when my parents had a cottage, and you went through a farmer's field, and you had been doing that for 75 years, and there's a lot of cottages down south and that sort of thing, and so the was something that's been used and came out the Road Access Act, I believe in around 76 or something. So then, our access couldn't be blocked because it had been used as a road. So anyway, you can look up that act, the Road Access Act, that gave a lot of cottagers access.
Okay, we've advanced one page so far. Here we go. We're not exactly setting the world on fire today.
There's a lot of stuff crossed out there.
Yeah, okay.
That's all fine.
So you see,
So lots on water frontage, development proposals on lots with water frontage is subject to following additional provisions. New lots shall have a minimum area of 1 hectare and a minimum frontage of 60 meters unless a hydrological study demonstrates that a smaller lot size is appropriate. Regardless of the results of hydrological study, new lots shall be less than 0.6 hectares in size.
Not-
Sorry, shall not. Missed a word, sorry about that.
that was an important word.
Yeah. B, subdivision roads shall be constructed to MTO standards. And C, provisions of garbage removal shall be made to the satisfaction of the township. What does that mean?
It's on a private road, you don't, well, so you don't have
What is
municipal
CB?
garbage pickup, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for our
but they
township.
have to arrange that someone will, or they'll take it to the landfill site.
But with like lots of water frontage.
Yeah, you don't want them to create their own,
Yeah.
Is that, do we have that in every
disposal site.
It's only in a subdivision.
provision?
I saw it somewhere else in here too.
Well, it's
Yeah.
either gotta be in every one of
Yeah.
our, like, it should be in recreational, it should
Yeah.
be in every one of our uses.
Mhm.
Or none, cause it's implied that they
It's-
have to,
Just make a general policy.
right,
I had a question.
I have a question too.
So this is new lots, not existing lots.
Sorry, ask that again?
It's for new lots, not existing waterfront lots
Right,
that don't have a building on.
yeah,
It's for new developments, but it could be on an existing lot. So if that existing lot doesn't meet those minimums, then new development won't be granted.
right.
I think it should be used.
Mhm.
I thought you meant like new development of a lot. Like say if you've already approved a subdivision or a severance. I mean, that lot I understood from Sabrina that lot can still get a building permit to build. Like an existing lot, it meant like a new development that they were subdividing or.
It would be a lot of record, just the building envelope would be smaller if it's a smaller lot. If it's existing, but any new consents would have to follow this
Yeah,
policy.
okay, right.
Okay, so. Again, I'll come back to this 1 acre, like, how many pieces of property on Nosbonsing is 1 acre big in East Nipissing, in East, in East Ferris compared
Even
to
ours.
ours,
Mhm.
right? So if we're sharing a lake and they've got 80 houses in a space that we could put 5, well, they're collecting a whole lot more taxes than we ever will. So why are we restricting ourselves to something that they're not holding the same regard to, right?
Water pollution.
I get all that.
It used to be, I don't know if it is still, that in East Ferris, the water was more polluted than over here. I don't know how it is now. Way back when I was working with the Conservation Authority, that was one comment that stuck with
It was a big deal. The Conservation Authority has major say on that.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to
Yeah.
follow conservation authorities, like if the lake can sustain it. It like the level of development that is being proposed, but to restrict it and say it has to be on 1 acre. If the lake can sustain half-acre lots.
They need like room for septic, well, water, not be on top of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm all in, I just don't know why we would put a number on it. When there are other guiding principles that need to be followed
On the same lake.
on the same
You
lake.
could change what is in there, but there has to be a number. The problem with approvals without numbers. But we can look at what our neighbors on the same lake are doing,
Mhm.
what provisions they have for it. And then if you did make it a smaller size, you can still, I think, there was a newspaper article about the city of North Bay, because on Chut Lake policies. So smaller lots, but greater setbacks to the lake, so that you can manage the development.
Right.
And still protect the environment. So I think there's policies that maybe, but it's a jail, Richards. And we can look at what,
We've been doing.
Would have to be long lots if you want.
a huge setback, yeah.
Eric, you're bang on about water quality for lakes.
Mhm.
I can get you that study. They just redid it last week.
Probably more polluted this end too now, because I see like. Lots more weeds than when I was young.
Mhm. Even in the comments that from the open house, there's comments, the environment is huge, in all of
Absolutely.
the comments. It was about making sure people had proper and operating septics and they were protecting the lakes.
And I'm not asking us to not have any of that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, an arbitrary number when everything else needs to be
So those lots with just trailers on there,
correct.
they're creating a lot of pollution.
Okay,
You're
number
joking,
two,
right? You're joking. No.
the provisions of policy 1A above do not apply to part of broken lot 35 concession XI, more particularly described as parcel 21246 part 1 on plan, blah, 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 and part, okay, what is that?
Where is that?
McLaren Drive,
Yes.
Hey,
It's where?
McLaren Drive
Where's McLaren Drive?
at the end of Shields Point.
Okay,
I can't find the exact property,
I can show you.
but
You know, the tip of that peninsula.
Yeah.
Is Wheeler Township.
No. It's our township. Is it part?
but you're right, it does, there's,
There's a
it's a
tip
weird
there.
thing,
I
it
know
dips and
someone
it's like.
that has 2 trailers there, and how to get away with that, he goes, "'Cause I'm not."
Yeah,
Right there, that white tip. Basically, Shields Point.
Right there.
Where are you pointing to?
oh yeah, sorry, do that with the pointer, Nikki.
Sorry,
I can't really do it because I'm on my private. So from this road allowance here, this property that would be right across.
yeah,
That large piece of property. That's the section that's this refers to.
what's different with that?
Oh.
The policy doesn't,
that's commercial?
It would have been part of the subdivision when they did the subdivision. Sounds like
Okay,
more information about that, but
So sure,
Well, I'm not sure. I think the property is landlocked.
where's the road?
Well, there's no water access.
How many acres?
We can't show you because it brings up a name.
Oh,
Yes.
well, it's just private information I can't give you. So.
is it like a really big property?
It looks big.
Well, compared to all the neighbors, yeah.
Okay, so how big are all the other ones? smaller than an acre.
As soon as
I
you
can
hover over it,
still-
it shows a name, so I can't hover over it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
It's a hovering thing.
yes,
Every time we put our
Yeah.
cursor over a property, the name comes up, who owns it,
Oh, that's pretty
and all
cool.
that kind of stuff, yeah.
Okay.
but you're staring it to the.
Yeah.
front,
So those lots, well, they're smaller than an acre, most likely. But
Most likely.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, I'd ask Dale Richard.
Yeah. I do have a note, ask him.
Okay, so
We're
lots,
only guessing.
yeah, lots without waterfront. Without water frontage, development proposals on lots without water frontage are subject to the following additional provisions. Lots shall be a minimum lot area of 1 hectare and a minimum frontage of 60 meters. Lots shall be front on an existing public road maintained on a year-round basis. Public road, so it has to be public, okay? Year-round basis by the township and serviced by hydro and school buses. Provisions have been made for garbage removal, fire protection and other emergency services, and confirmation is received that the septic system and water supply is sufficient to accommodate the proposed use. C, the developer will be required to provide public access to the nearest lake at a rate of a minimum of 6 meters per interior lot, or prove to the satisfaction of the township that public access exists nearby. Okay. Questions?
do we have enough public access to the lakes or?
We do for not sponsoring. And Talon Lake has public access.
We have here, East Ferris. We have some on the south side.
They just redone. Access on that side. Each there.
I'm trying to think where.
Okay, public access to waterfront, the township shall strive to acquire a minimum of 0.4 hectares of land with a minimum water frontage of 60 meters for every 100 meters of developed shoreline. For the purpose of ensuring public access, crown land shall not be included in the calculation. Cash or other lakeshore lands may be accepted in lieu of subdivision dedications. When cash is accepted, it shall be used to acquire suitable lakeshore open space for the use of the public. Seasonal and permanent resident.
Jason,
Yeah.
just, I'm not sure.
No, that's okay.
It's not 100 meters, it's 1,000.
Did I say 100 meters? I wanted to read.
Just for the TV.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Seasonal and permanent residential development, only seasonal residential development may be permitted on islands. And in such instances, provisions must be made on the mainland for parking, docking, and waste collection to the satisfaction of the township. Provisions must also be made for sewage waste collection by barge. New lots shall have a minimum area of 1 hectare and the minimum lakeshore frontage of 60 meters. Unless a hydrological study demonstrates that a smaller lot size is appropriate, regardless of the results of the hydrological study, new lots shall not be less than 0.6 hectares in size. Seasonal residential developments on the mainland, which are accessed only by water, shall be permitted if the lot has a minimum of 1 hectare and a minimum lakeshore frontage of 60 meters, unless a hydrological study demonstrates that a smaller lot size is appropriate. Provisions must also be made for sewage waste collection by barge. Regardless of the results of the hydrological study, lots shall not be less than 0.6 hectares in size. It must also be demonstrated to the township that this suitable provisions have been made for parking, sewage, and solid waste collection, fire protection, dumping. Where new and existing lots in a recreational area front on an existing public road, which is maintained by the township on a year-round basis, a single-family dwelling will be a permitted use without an amendment to the official plan or implementing zoning bylaw provided that lots are.
Can we
service-
also add? Can we also add and or a private road
I don't. think
under
so.
that one? Where new and existing lots in the recreational area,
I don't think, so the rules right now under the Planning Act and the PPS don't allow for new permanent homes to be built on private lands.
on private roads.
On private roads with access to a private road. They have to be built on municipally maintained roads. So we can ask J.L. Richards, who can then ask the province. But I don't believe the Planning Act or the Municipal Act right now allow us to do development, new single family dwelling development on private roads.
Oh, Bonfield's in big trouble.
It's,
Everywhere though, Gina.
it's everywhere. These are the same rules for the entire province, so.
And when did these rules come out?
There was, I know they were in place in 2014. There was a new PPS in 2020.
Okay, and what's that, to look it up? What is it called?
The provincial policy statement.
Nikki, what did you just say?
The provincial policy statement.
Yeah. Yep, thanks.
I have some. Be a good idea if we get a new one. Is there a new one coming out?
Because,
They're making noise, but changing rules again. I don't know when.
We're good?
Yeah.
B, provisions
Thank
have been made for garbage removal, fire protection, and other emergency services. A lot has an acceptable source of potable water, and the applicant obtains the sewage system permit from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. Number 4, although existing permanent residential dwellings are recognized by this plan on year-round maintained roads in the recreational area, the township is under no obligation to extend year-round rural services to any land in the recreational area designation for the purpose of permitting additional conversions to permanent residential dwellings. Waiting for pause, Kate.
Isn't that that's kind of,
Yeah,
So why is Bonfield not interested in maintaining that road?
Because first of all, they're to be seasonal.
The roads are
It's supposed to be a seasonal dwelling back in the time.
Well, yeah, but it's accepted even in this plan that there are residential dwellings that are recognized as basically being permanent, right? So at what stage is it in the best interest of the town to say, fine, we're gonna maintain this road?
Never.
How come?
Not necessarily. Because
But
then,
no,
We're talking.
Yeah, but we're talking in circles. So here you're saying that you want to promote, you don't want a trailer on a lot because you can't tax it. Here you have cottages that have been converted and you don't want to maintain the road because you can't afford to maintain the road. But if you were to extend the road maintenance and now classify those as completed, permanent residences, then you can gather those taxes and feed it back to the road. So you put a roadblock in yourselves and saying you're not going to develop it because you don't want to promote it, but it's already happened.
But do the residents want us to promote that we're gonna put a nice road into that area and then we're gonna put some commercial property in there?
Commercial, but it's not.
But
We'll have to change.
If we own the road.
that's number one. We had, back when the people, when it was zoned, seasonal limited services, we had a group of people came in to the municipality and they wanted the roads. They wanted the township to take over the road, take over that road going back in there. And then we talked about it and I said, then you guys will be rezoned, which would change
Yeah.
the the zoning of their property and their taxes would have increased. I don't know, I think our clerk at the time said if it was zoned this and what their taxes would be. All of a sudden that party left. They didn't, they said, we'll maintain our own road and we don't want our zoning changed because the taxes were going to be much, much higher than what they were at the time, what the zoning that was existing. So it's kind of, I don't know how, when people live there all year
Oh,
round.
no, I knew
and
that that would be
beautiful
the
homes,
answers.
So, I don't know, that one road is kind of rough road in there. I
Yeah.
don't like coming down that
Yeah,
hill.
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. No, I know that if I was down that road too, I'd be like, I'd rather not. It all depends, but I'm just interested because it's, you have unmaintained roads and municipalities always remind me of, you know, the municipality is not fully covering all the zones, like, you know, Palangio Road too, like, I don't know if you guys ever been down that road, that's
No, we don't.
scary, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just saying, like, if you're from out of town, you take a wrong turn in Bonfield and you hit one of these roads, you're like, man, Bonfield doesn't maintain it, right? You don't have to explain it to them that that's not a maintained road, it's just out of curiosity, right? And the first response being that we can't afford it, but then again, it's like, I know it's a money's game, right? So at what point do these residences realize they want it? Like, I don't even know how they organize themselves. They have a group that
Some,
gathers money and maintains it, right?
Yeah.
Some have
the
associations.
Cottagers Association.
Don't they?
They,
not all of them have an organized association.
But didn't we just, wasn't that listed in here that they had to have an association?
It is in there somewhere that says that. We would like everybody to have an association, but they don't all have an association. If they did, then we could just have certain ones come and talk to some point. They don't have executives. But when we go to a private road to a municipal road, it's not the municipal money that is used to build that road out. So right now, if you look at all the private roads, they're not municipal standards. They're not 66 feet wide. They don't have the base. They don't have everything. So the property owners on that road have to build it to a municipal maintained standard, and
Yeah.
then we would assume it. And that's cost prohibitive.
Mhm.
Because that's not something that the municipality takes the onus on. It's the property owners on that road that have to pay
Right.
for that.
Which we also do to subdivision developers.
Yes.
They have to build the road up to the standard of us taking over the maintenance.
So it's money, but it's the property owners that don't want to put that money out.
Gotcha. I see it. I see where the hurdle is, yeah.
Don't you live out there?
No, I'm at the portion where that is maintained by Bonfield, although I can tell you that.
No, well, that was close to say,
No, horribly, I have people that live down the road and my several neighbors, and it's that portion, you turn on the shields between Dan Holmes and the corner there, that is just pothole ridden. Like, it doesn't matter, the grader can come and then 2 days later it's boom.
On our Shields Point portion?
Yeah,
what you're saying?
oh, yeah, it's horrible. Horrible, it's,
what does it need?
gravel. It needs gravel, but also needs grading. Basically, what it does is it collects the water and then just sinks into it rather than off of it.
Probably a lot of clay in the whole.
Um,
New Year's Eve.
yeah, maybe, and number 5, I guess, on existing parcels of year-round and new lots, the minimum setback for all buildings and structures, with the exception of boathouses, docks, wharfs, pump houses, aircraft hangars, and structures occupying an area of 10 square meters or less shall be 30 meters from the normal ordinary water's edge of any lake, river, creek, stream, tributary, or significant body of water. Fair enough. Commercial development, commercial uses shall adhere to the following provisions. The uses are located in close proximity to each other and do not result in ribbon development. I see that's contradicting me. Maybe perhaps I don't understand ribbon development, but when I read that up, it's like all close together, all going down. So now it's saying it has to be close together, but can't be ribbon development. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Google search ribbon. There you go.
Since it's working.
Yeah. The building of houses along a main road, especially one leading to out of town or village.
That's all we get.
Yeah, the establishment of houses in a continuous row along the main road is known as urban development. It's road centric, urban development was the first seen in. Oh, this is UK, it's not gonna be relevant. Oh,
If it's not a subdivision,
What
it's,
happens is like often, so the severances, which are quite indicative, are quite. Like that here in Bonfield, you'll see the road is here. And then there's all these small. Severances right along the road. But all this behind is open with only one road access. So now you've created ribbon development, and this is all empty and undevelopable, basically, except in subdivision.
it's land.
yeah,
Yes.
So
so
when,
It's
I always thought when you did that and you had you severed here. And then now you've got a couple more severances close by. I always thought that was infilling. And I thought infilling is a good thing because you're not creating a new road. That road is already, you can already use the existing road. And the buses and plowing and everything is on that road, so. That's why I wonder, what is the difference of infilling and ribbon? To me, it seems like it's the same thing.
Except one's allowed and one's not.
Hmm?
Yeah, except one's allowed and one's not, apparently.
They're the same.
Yeah, they're the same thing. If we really like the people, we'll call it infill. If we don't like the people, it's ribbon. Sorry, not allowed. It seems silly.
But it happens a lot here anyways.
You want to be
we're
beside
gonna
the.
get rabbit holes, but.
We're going to come around.
Collect a whole bunch of taxes here. and
Ah, there it is. That
Just
is
go down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Physical, I think it's because it's under commercial, I think at the.
Next time,
voting,
we'll forget my
yeah,
glasses.
You're gonna do something like that,
Okay.
you have, like say. Shop here,
Yeah.
shared driveway or something.
We'll add it
like maybe a
to-
little
Yeah,
grouping,
rigid stakes,
so like close, so you can just basically maybe share parking area for these three, whatever.
God forbid,
commercial.
3 more people want to come in.
And
and-
But, yeah,
It's
but if
very
you do something like a ribbon,
Maybe you start
then
ribbon.
it
and
goes
then
against the
once it's
idea of
started, we might
promoting
as well
hamlets, right? Because then all of a sudden you get a ribbon, and then the other guy on the other side of the street does a ribbon, and now all of a
That's the way
sudden
it is.
we call this, Blackburn. And now you have another hamlet in Bonfield that just basically crept up because people just clustered all in one area, right?
Man, that would be a great problem. Now. We have so much commercial activity. Yeah. At some point, I'm just like, let's just be open to commercial activity. Yeah. Okay. Where was I?
Talking about commercial, there you are.
Yeah, commercial is, yeah,
Just gonna
Yeah.
offer my reading skills, if you want to switch up to, like, if
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
getting tired or whatever.
that's on you. I got fired, I'm good.
No, I'm just saying,
It's on you, go.
it's on me, so we're on aggregate, right?
Commercial
nope.
development.
Oh, wow, okay,
No.
okay, I'll do commercial, then you take over, so we're on 53, so commercial development, commercial uses shall adhere to the following provisions. The uses are located in close proximity to each other. Oh, I read this one. Do not, yeah.
Exactly.
Be an accessory dwelling unit may be allowed for the residential owner / operator above or separated from a commercial use. So why only residential owner operator? So they can do commercial first floor, residential second, and rent out the residential second. Happens
All the time.
All the
It
time.
doesn't say it's on here.
So could we
Yeah,
maybe
but-
ask the question?
In the zoning, you could regulate it. So that you could have rentals. You know, these-
Except if it's
Yeah.
counter to the official plan. of how- That's what Nikki taught me.
You are being.
Thank you. Parking and loading facilities shall be provided on site. A landscape buffer between commercial and residential uses shall be provided. The development is approved in accordance with the government regulations and acts governing such uses. And F tourism uses, which include short-term rental accommodations, are subject to the general development policies of this plan. And bylaws. Right,
One of the general policies is that we can regulate by law.
right.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, like this official plan allows for the ability to have short-term rentals, but doesn't take away the ability to regulate it.
Exact, yeah,
Right.
this is an overreaching guideline policy.
You're up.
All right. 4.45 aggregate removal. To ensure that large portions of the township are not turned into abandoned operations or non-rehabilitated sites, only those portions of properties presently being used for the extraction and or processing of raw materials taken from the earth or those areas that have been identified on Schedule A of this plan by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry shall be designated in this plan and zoned accordingly in the zoning bylaw. Number 2, the establishment of new aggregate removal operation not shown on Schedule A shall require an amendment to both the official plan and zoning bylaw. B, any new pit or quarry will be licensed and operated in accordance with the Aggregates Resources Act, which is administered by the M&R and Forestry. Studies and the site plans required under the Aggregate Resources Act are reviewed to ensure that the effects on the natural environment and the resources and existing development are fully considered prior to the ministry approval of a license for the establishment of new expanded pit or quarry, and the township approving any required zoning modifications. In accordance with the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, D series guidelines, pits and quarries are considered Class 3 industrial facilities. The potential area of influence for pits and quarries extend out 1,000 meters from the area designated for industrial use. Site-specific studies conducted in consultation with the province may reduce the area of influence to 300 meters. Number 4, no aggregate removal or quarry operations may commence until excavation of the earthen berm along with the visual. I don't know if I have to go through all these, but 5, all topsoil removed prior to in the course of the aggregate removal or quarry operation shall be retained. These are more like environmental points, right? No excavation other than the access road shall take place within 30 meters of the adjacent property line or within 30 meters of any public street or highway. 7, aggregate removal areas that are depleted or not suitable for exploitation. The property may be used for rural uses as described in the policies of the rural area. In all cases, a rezoning to an appropriate zone will be required, provided that A, any license applying to the land has been surrendered or modified so as not to apply to the land, and it can be demonstrated that the land has been progressively rehabilitated to recognize the interim nature of extraction and anticipate future land uses, and to mitigate negative impacts on the greatest possible extent. Final rehabilitation, taking surrounding land uses into consideration, shall require
Did we ever have
to
land
permit
rehab?
They must. Actually,
we
the
ever-
Aggregate Resources Act dictates almost everything that is being spoken of.
Was it ever done in Bonfield yet? I don't think so.
I don't think there's ever been a closed pit.
Eh?
I don't think there's closed pits.
I don't think so, so.
No, but after a pit is closed, it must be rehabilitated.
There was one, but it was a garbage site out on the corner of Oxwell and that area there. There's a gravel pit there, but that was also the township owns that, I think, but it was a landfill site at one time. So nothing, it's just nothing now, or is it a
nothing.
gravel pit?
It's not a gravel pit.
No. Okay.
The proposed use will not limit the possibility of mineral aggregate extraction from other lands designated aggregate removal area, and issues of public health, public safety, and environmental impact are addressed to the satisfaction of the township. This may necessitate the submission of other supporting information such as geotechnical and groundwater studies. 8, the council shall enter into an agreement with the owners of any proposed mining or quarrying operations to ensure compliance with the above regulations and the effective rehabilitation of the area after such operations have been completed. Next point, 451, abandoned mine hazard site. Mine hazards are any feature of a mine defined in the Mining Act or any related ground disturbance that has not been rehabilitated. To date, there are no abandoned mine hazard sites in the township of Bonfield. In the event that this changes in the future, the official plan shall be amended to show the location of the appropriate schedule. The township shall require applicants for any proposed development within 1,000 meters of an abandoned mine hazard site symbol to consult the appropriate provincial ministry regarding the nature of the hazard and to undertake any remediation measures as legislated under the Mining Act. Development on, abutting, or adjacent to lands or water affected by mining hazards or formal mineral resource operations shall be permitted only if measures to address and mitigate known or suspected hazards are underway or have been completed.
I have a question. If there is an abandoned mine, we don't have any,
No,
but if there were, who would pay to rehab it? Township?
No, on the line.
Yeah, but if they were out of business, I guess.
no, I
And
think,
we have the aggregate act, but it would probably be the only. And the land
They still exist.
would give it to the profits.
I think,
So we make sure before they leave, fix it.
well, I think it would be the applicant. Yeah,
Yeah,
if
make
if
sure-
he applies and he has it and he's leaving it, then he needs to make it right, I think, right? 446, provincial parks and conservation reserves. The Mattawa River Provincial Park and the Bolter Depot Creek Conservation Reserve are shown as provincial parks and conservation reserves on Schedule A of this plan. The province is responsible for administering these lands and determining appropriate land use policies in accordance with the Provincial Parks and Conservation Reserves Act. Nothing in this plan shall conflict with the preservation and protection of provincial parks and conservation reserves, and development shall have regard for mitigating negative impacts on these areas. 447, environmental services area. Environmental services areas are designated on Schedule A and are meant to include lands not otherwise represented in the official plan that serve environmental service functions. The environmental services area designation identifies the following areas that are not otherwise represented as natural heritage features on Schedule B. So cemeteries and sewage waste disposal. Number 2, development may be permitted adjacent to many of the features covered by the environmental services area designation. If it has first been demonstrated through appropriate studies, example, environmental impact assessment, that there will be no negative impacts on the existing or proposed uses. Waste disposal. The existing and decommissioned solid waste disposal sites are all illustrated on Schedule A. The township maintains one active waste disposal site with capacity for an additional 54 years of use as of 2021 assessment. Due to the problems with unstable soil conditions, methane gas, and toxic leachates, development on or near these sites is subject to the approval of the appropriate provincial ministry and the municipality. A, any development within 500 meters of a waste disposal site shall require the submission of technical studies to the satisfaction of council to establish the potential hazards, adverse effects, or health and safety risks that may result from the waste disposal site. The required technical studies shall also provide recommendations regarding the appropriate mitigation measures, including setbacks, development standards, monitoring requirements, or other remedial measures to be provided to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of future residents near these such facilities. The cost of completing any studies shall be the responsibility of the applicant, and any costs incurred by the township to review the study shall be the responsibility of the applicant. B, in addition, any development proposed within 500 meters of an active or former waste disposal site shall be accompanied by gas and leachate migration studies prepared by a qualified consultant and completed to the satisfaction of the municipality in consultation with the province. C, should significant impacts be identified more than 500 meters from a waste disposal site, the study area may be expanded accordingly. Natural heritage features and cultural heritage are shown on Schedule V of this plan. The natural heritage values illustrated on Schedule V have been supplied by the Ministry of Natural Resources Information System, the NRVs, and on Schedule B of this plan are constantly changing and being updated. As new information becomes available, any new values or changes to values shall be reported to the MNR and Forestry for the purposes of updating the NRVs. Areas or sites having a natural or cultural feature are also subject to the underlying land use designation policies and general development policies of this plan. 5.1 Natural heritage. The township recognizes the importance of natural environment to its citizens. The township may create a cultural environment awareness and encourage and enable its citizens, visitors, business to adopt lifestyles of the lowest possible environmental impact while maintaining a sustainable quality of life. The township also recognizes the importance of mitigating and adapting to the effects of climate change on the natural environment. As such, the township shall encourage development to demonstrate sustainable design concepts such as designing with nature as a commitment to environmental protection for future generations. Natural heritage consists of an overall natural heritage system, which consists of natural heritage features and areas which are linked by natural corridors, which are important to maintain biological and geological diversity, natural functions, and viable populations of indigenous species and ecosystems. The diversity and connectivity of natural features and the long-term ecological function and biodiversity of the township's natural heritage system shall be maintained, restored, or improved, recognizing linkages between and among natural heritage features and areas, surface water features, and groundwater features. The township recognizes the value of these natural heritage features, and it is intent of this plan to encourage their protection and preservation. According to the M&R and Forestry, there are 3 candidate areas of natural and scientific interest within the township: the Blue Seal Creek Hill candidate, Earth Science, ANSI, and the Rutherglen Moraine Shoreline and Cane candidate, Earth Science, and the Bolter Township candidate, Life Science. Once an ANSI has been confirmed by the authority, by the M&R, the planning authority has the responsibility of ensuring the decision made under the Planning Act are consistent with the policies of the provincial policy statement. Portions of the Meadow River Park, Provincial Park, and the Boulder Depot Creek Conservation Reserve also fall within the Township of Bonfield municipal boundary. Provincial parks and the conservation reserves managed exclusively by the M&R and Forestry for the benefit of all Ontarians. When potential development may have an impact on or be impacted by one of the natural heritage feature areas described in this section, the Township of Bonfield may refer to the appropriate agency for comment. The township shall also refer to the province's Natural Heritage Reference Panel to implement the policies of provincial policy statement with respect to development or adjacent to natural heritage features and areas. That's a long one. Important habitat and natural values are constantly changing, and currently values mapping is likely incomplete. New areas of natural features and wildlife habitat may be identified in the future, either through updates to provincial mapping or through site-by-site identification during the development review process. As these habits and values change, including the habitats of endangered and threatened species, the schedule of this plan will be updated. As these changes are usually minor in nature, formal amendments to this plan will not be required. Township may also consider a study to identify natural heritage system, which includes natural heritage features and linkages. Nothing in this section 6 of this plan is intended to limit the abilities of normal farm practices to continue. You want to jump in on 511, 511?
You give up already?
That was a long one.
If you want, this one has the chart changes, so you really only have to read or red stuff. That's the new.
Except it's all new to all of us,
Okay. Okay.
except for Neri and perhaps Eric, but it's new to the rest of us.
Okay. What did I do?
You did not. No, you did nothing. I'm just saying the whole thing is kind of new to all of us, not just the track changes,
Oh, yeah.
except for you.
Well, it's all taken out.
Right, yeah.
Far.
Yeah. Areas of natural and scientific interest are of significance to the province for their natural heritage features and biodiversity. Life science, ANSIs apply to the forest types, valleys, prairies, and wetlands. Each science ANSIs are examples of ongoing geological processes and include bedrock, fossils, and other landforms. Candidate ANSIs are shown on Schedule B of this plan. Council recognizes the value of these features and supports their protection. One, where the development or site alteration is proposed within a candidate or confirmed ANSI or its adjacent lands. The proponent shall provide the township with an environmental impact statement that demonstrates that there will be no negative impacts on the ANSI or on its ecological function. Adjacent lands are considered to be within 50 meters of the boundary of an earth science ANSI and within 120 meters of the boundary of the life science ANSI. Where warranted, the site of the species-specific factors development proposals further than 120 meters from significant portions of the candidate or confirmed life science ANSI, or further than 50 meters from the candidate or confirmed earth science ANSI, may also require an EIS. Okay, I'm gonna pretend like I read it out loud. I'm gonna pretend like I understood all that.
I have to leave.
Okay. No problem. Okay, we keep plugging away. Eric, is everyone okay? It's 8 o'clock. Are we wrapping it at 8 or because we got a late start? But I'm up to the group. Depends how many more meetings we really feel like we want to have on this.
And the last one, we can go with plan work.
Yeah, we should be able to do it in one meeting.
Okay, so we will stop there.
Yeah, because I'm not supposed to drive, so
Okay.
I'm a pain in the butt, and I have a pain in the.
Ah, geez. Okay. So, we'll move for adjournment. Moved by.
I'm the one that caused it.
Seconded by
He'd taken off on it. Okay, you go.
member Roblinsky. That the planning advisory committee be adjourned at 7:57. 7 p.m. To meet again at 6 p.m. on December 11th, 2023. All in favor? That's carried. And bring a snack. We're sticking with it come the next one.
Make arrangement to very late.
Bring water, bring a snack. Enjoy
And-
spending money.
and-
Oh.
That again?
Like the one.
Bring water, bring a snack, and bring the cushion.
There you go.
We're gonna finish it next time, right?
We are gonna finish it next time.
Yeah.
You're on.
You're on mute.
Sorry.
Okay.
Still on mute.
I know, I know the signs.
Yeah.
I don't know why that, who else joined us tonight?
Oh, this is Councilor Featherstone.
That's who I thought it was. Hello, I'm Gina.
How are you? He had a meeting before this
Good.
one and then had to waste some time before his next meeting, so he just stuck with it. I bet you he got about halfway through and started regretting his decision, though.
I just wanted to see.
Was wishing he walked.
Yeah.
Okay, good night.
See you next Monday.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah,
for-
bye now.
Will you stop the recording?
I want to tell you guys something,
Yeah.
as long as we're not
There we go.
Recording stopped.